The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, we have Daniel Cain, running for Elmira City Court Judge. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
We've got a lot to talk about. Let's start with the easiest. Tell us about your background.
Sure. So I'm a local kid from this area. Had graduated, got my bachelor's degree from Geneseo, went to law school in Philadelphia, Temple University. Then my wife and I made the decision to move back, to this area, and started my career here 20 years ago, and we've been here ever since. Raised our family here, and like I said, been here working and living in the community ever since.
Well, obviously you have family and you have a job and your responsibilities. So why did you take the time, because it is a lot of work, people don't realize, to run?
Right. So I've not been politically active. So I always vote. I'm obviously, I think that's important, and I'm engaged in that level. But in terms of seeking political office, not something that I've ever done before. So it's new to me. So I think for me it was kind of a matter of looking around and thinking to myself, what can I do? And so, running for Senate or running for governor isn't something really in the cards, but running for local office, and that's what drove me to it. And I think there's a real benefit to running for local office. There's a lot that you can do and a lot of experiences that you can have that maybe you wouldn't be able to have with some of those other offices. Getting to engage with the voters, and so many of them.
With your neighbors.
Right.
I mean, exactly. Really, people, and I know everybody focuses on the national level talk and like that, but when it comes to local, nothing affects your life on a day-to-day basis more than the local races.
Exactly.
And that's why we'll be asking you about voter turnout later. Right. But before that, if people aren't familiar with the role and responsibility of Elmira City Court Judge, what does that look like? So
there's a lot of different roles. So I think a lot of times people immediately will go to the criminal end of it.
Sure.
And so that's one end where you have misdemeanor criminal cases, and then earlier in the proceedings, felony level preliminary matters for those. But there's a lot of other things, civil cases, landlord-tenant, code issues, animal control, all the way down to vehicle and traffic and so forth. So there's a lot of ways that, outside of just those criminal proceedings, a lot of ways that Elmira City Court can affect the lives of the people living in the city of Elmira. And it should also be noted, I know I've mentioned it on every interview, and we talk about how important the local races are. This is a 10-year term. Right. So you can't take that lightly. Right, exactly. That's a lot of responsibility, too, on your side, right? Hopefully you like it if you win, right? Right. So you have to think long and hard, especially for someone like me who hasn't run for political office before. It is a large commitment, but the way that I look at it is that this is the city that we live in as a family. It's the city we raise our children in. It's a city that we're invested in. So this is, kind of I think my deciding to run was based upon that.
And you mentioned you're not necessarily a political person, though you vote. How's the campaign been going? Is there any surprises since you're new to it?
No, because you don't really know, what to expect necessarily sometimes with that. So I guess the one surprise, it's hard. You work during the day, and then you have we've got 4 kids, so we've got to get them, make sure they're getting where they need to be. So then you go out there and you're walking door to door. So always getting out there is a bit of a challenge to do it. But once you're out there, the doors that open, at least, I think I've been positively surprised at how positive it's been, how oftentimes people are engaged in the conversation, even sometimes people who didn't know there was a city court judge race before me knocking on the door and talking to them.
Isn't it unique, because I've said this a million times on this program, but you learn about things that you may not even been aware of in your community from the residents. What it matters to them may not be what matters to the person next door to them, or to you for that matter.
Exactly right. And that gives a perspective too, kind of on the different areas that a city court judge is might have come across their desk because of that. Because some people it might be issues with landlord tenants, some issues it might be code issues and so forth. So that's very true.
How have the conversations been going? What are people saying?
So I think a lot of times the conversations are going well, and I think a lot of times it's people who want to know me, want to know my background, And the nice thing about a local race, very rarely do you get asked a question in terms of your political party.
Right.
It's the question is kind of what's my experience, what do I feel like I can bring to the job, and then sometimes about my background, and sometimes that's a nice part of it because you meet someone who I've never met before, but maybe they knew my mother from working at St. Joseph's Hospital, or my wife or my father. Even I've had people. My grandfather passed away when I was 1. I've had people ask about him.
Wow.
So that part of it is neat.
It is having the conversation, and it's refreshing when people are so informed on their local community. It's heartwarming because I take out petitions, and just to hear that people actually do follow it,
Right.
you're not always sure. So it is, but it's definitely a different kind of animal, isn't it?
Right, for sure.
It's fun. So, and you mentioned that about political party, not necessarily political issues. It's interesting when it comes to a judicial race, and some people may wonder why the questions are always very similar. There's only some things I can ask you, some things I can't. And that's not just you, that's any judicial candidate. But for this one couple of months, 1, 2, 3, 4 months that you can campaign, you have to be political, you have to have a party. And then if you win, you've got 10 years where you can't be political at all. Isn't it kind of bonkers?
Right. It is strange. And I mean, I get removing it from when you're on the bench, removing politics from it.
Course.
But it is that dichotomy where now you're out there kind of campaigning. But the one thing that was important to me and that really I'm quite proud of is the amount of support that we've got across party lines.
Yeah.
So not just from kind of people out in the community talking to, but also people working on my campaign.
Yeah.
It really truly is a cross section. Those people helping me are a cross section of the political spectrum.
Well, and I saw you have quite a few endorsements on your website. That always it has to feel good.
Yes.
You know what I mean? When people go out of their way to endorse you. I don't always ask that question, but I saw that you had quite a few, so that's great. What issues do you see that you'll have to focus on specifically if you become judge? I'm not mean about the responsibility of the job, but looking ahead to 10 years of this, what do you expect?
So, I think that you've got so many different areas that you're dealing with, so obviously a large portion of city court is kind of the criminal caseload that goes in front of you, and a lot of people are talking about issues with that, whether it be concerns with drugs or violence in our communities. It's a community that I live in too, so I'm not certainly blind to that. It's going to be you've got landlord tenant,
It's going to be huge, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
For that, and then code issues, and so I mean, really, it runs the gamut because it's a court with so much volume that handles so many different kinds of cases. So, I'm just ready to jump in there, listen to folks, and then try to resolve some of these issues as best as we can. Now,
we mentioned a little bit earlier, but how are you preparing to get out the vote on Election Day? Now, early voting has started. If people aren't aware, it's very important to know that. I know it sounds like there's been good turnout, but that doesn't mean a lot of people like to wait till the day and get the sticker and all that.
Right.
How are you going to try to get the voter turnout?
Right. So part of it's been door to door, going out and meeting as many people as we can, and it's hard because it's a lot of times people aren't home or what have you, and there's a lot of
it gets dark so quick now too.
Right. That's been a huge obstacle. And the days are getting shorter, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but that's been a large part of it. And then obviously we have, presence on Facebook and our website and so forth, the endorsements that you mentioned, and just really lucky, grateful to have the people that kind of behind me that are helping me put out that word to let folks know, first of all, there is this election coming up. And to for those people to say, and this is why I think Dan's the best person for the job.
Well, and that's why I like the idea of early voting, especially for races like this, because instead of waiting, you know how it is. It's a late day, you're at work, and you forget on Election Day. Just go now when you have a couple minutes. Go vote, because there's not going to be a line.
Exactly.
Get it over with so you don't forget, if nothing else.
Right.
Because there just isn't the beating of the drum to tell everybody get out and vote in a local election year, an off-season year like this.
Right.
So you mentioned the website, the Facebook. Is that the best place to find out more about you and get involved if they want to help?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. We got Cain 4, the number 4, citycourt.com is the website. And then the Facebook, I'll read it to make sure I get it right. Elect Daniel Cain for Elmira City Court Judge.
Well, I was just looking at our camera screen. In the back, there was a car shining. It almost looks like you have a halo on you. So I don't know what that says, but I apologize. It's very bright behind you. So before we go, what would you say to voters before they head to the booth?
So I think to look at my experience, and I think the wide breadth of experience that I have. So I think right now I'm a court attorney, principal court attorney in Chemung County Court. So I've got that experience from the other side of the bench. But the biggest thing I, even more than that, try to hammer home is that 18 years before that, I was a privately practicing attorney. So, what do I do with that? I sit across the desk from people, I listen to them, and then try to find resolutions to whatever issues they might have. And that's exactly what a city court judge is going to need to do. And one of the, I've been in front of countless judges in so many different courts over the years, from city court to county to state supreme to local courts. And so people sometimes say, what kind of, when you're looking at judges, what are you looking for? And it sounds so simple, but it's someone who listens, who's going to listen. And that's what I want to do. Listen, I want to use my knowledge, my experience, and then apply the law. We're judges. We're not setting policy.
Right.
Our job is to apply the law and to apply it fairly. So that's what I look forward to do, and that's what I would plan on doing.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being on the program this morning. Best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.